All right, back on the record in the case of People versus Brandon Martin, RAF 1506112. Record should reflect Mr. Martin is present with counsel. Both counsel and people are present, and all members of the jury and alternates are present. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
We are ready to proceed, and sir, I'll remind you, you're under the same oath that was administered to you this morning.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Beecham, you may proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon. All right. I think so. Where we left off, I was showing you a defender's document. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. And showing you on page 1 of 3.
We have the exhibit number again.
Oh yes, I apologize. It's 181A.
Thank you.
Okay. So looking at this document, can you show us where on this document it states the customer's name?
On this document, it would be right here.
Melody Martin. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the address?
Correct. That would be right here.
Okay. So on this document, it's listed as 1027 Winthrop Drive. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, what I'd like to do is go down to, you see where it says, where it states sell date?
Yes, that's right there.
Okay, and that sell date is listed as 9/16/2015.
Yes.
Hard to see, so I'm going to highlight it for the record, the yellow highlighter. All right, and so before we broke, I believe you said that the process for which this particular security system would be activated is that the technician would have to call ADT to have it activated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you ever go to residences with your father-in-law, Barry?
Yes, I have.
And so, and since he's your father-in-law, I imagine you know what type of truck he drives for work.
Yes.
Or what type of truck he drove for work. What truck was that?
It was a white Ford Raptor.
I'm going to show you People's 164. You recognize this photograph?
I haven't seen this photograph before, but
Okay.
it looks like a...
That was my bad question. Do you recognize this truck?
Yes.
And is that your father-in-law's, or was that your father-in-law's Ford Raptor?
It looks like his, yes.
And showing you People's 165, was there anything on the rear of it that was easily identifiable to you?
Yes, his Harley Davidson stickers on the windows.
Okay. And do you see the tailgate?
Yes.
And is that his tailgate?
Not that I remember, but the stickers are his that are on the window.
And looking at this particular photo, you notice damage on the right rear bumper of the truck. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that there, to your knowledge, before September 17th, 2015?
No.
And also looking at, perhaps you can see it, I'll zoom in, at the left rear bumper area, you see some scratches there, some damage?
Yes.
And was that there, to your knowledge, prior to September 17th, 2015?
No.
Showing you People's 180A. For the record, this is another SDT'd document. On this particular document, Can you tell us what the date here is on the very bottom next to 9/17/2015? Or what the time is?
All right, his phrase sustained.
Okay. SDP document, self-authenticating, Your Honor?
Yes, but as to the question for him,
Yes.
I need to rephrase.
So do you see the date 9/17/2015?
Yes.
And do you see where it has a call time?
Yes.
And what is that call time next to 9/17/2015? The one on the very bottom, the one next to the one on.
4:12 p.m.
All right, overruled on those grounds. Do you recognize this document, sir, as having seen it while you work for that company?
No. As technicians, we normally wouldn't see this document.
So, sustained.
Okay. Do you are you aware that you were called on September 17th, 2015 by somebody named Sergeant Gamache? Is that correct?
I was the one that actually contacted him. I got his contact information from Barry's manager that they were trying to locate or that he was missing. It was very unclear what was going on at the time.
Okay. What time did you call? Let me back up. When was the first time you realized that there was some issue with your father-in-law, Barry?
It was later in that evening.
Approximately what time?
Between 6 and 8 p.m.
When you received information about that, what did you do?
Me personally, we attempted to contact Barry.
And how did you try to contact him?
By phone call and through text.
Didn't answer any of your phone calls?
No.
Didn't answer any of your text messages?
No.
And then when he wasn't answering your phone calls or text messages, is that when you called Sergeant Gamache, or was it before that?
Yeah, we had gotten his phone number from the manager, the ADT manager, and then I contacted the detective to let him know who I was. At that point, I believe we were told to come down to the Corona Police Department.
And is that when you found out what had happened to Barry?
Yes.
To your knowledge, had Barry ever worked at that residence before?
No.
And did the police ask you for identifying information as to Barry's truck?
Later that night, I had spoken to my brother-in-law, who sent me a text message of the back of his truck with the stickers and the license plate, and I forwarded that on to the detectives.
And you never went to the Winthrop address, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
Cross? Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You told us you had worked for Defenders from 2013 through, sounds like maybe the beginning of September 2015?
That's correct.
I think you told us earlier also that you stopped working there about a week before this incident occurred.
Yes.
And your role there was as an installer or technician?
That's correct.
Did you ever work in any other capacity for that business?
Not an official capacity, but I helped other managers with managing their branches.
What is the process if somebody contacts Defenders? Do they call on the phone and request service?
Yes, Defender has a call center that receives calls from nationwide, and then they get divvied out by location to the branches.
It's like a sales call center then?
Yes.
There's a person on the other end of the line that takes down their information and processes the request?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so the document, before I get to that, you've never worked in that position, correct?
No, I have not.
Okay. So, referring to People's 181A, which was this document here, if you can see that, let me zoom out. If I hit something here. There we go. Thank you. So you mentioned earlier that you've seen this document before, correct?
Yes.
And this is an internal document that Defenders has, I'm guessing, when a sales call comes in.
That's correct. It's basically a screenshot of what the person over the phone sees as they're filling in the information.
There's some software that's been created, and then they're filling in information that the customer is purportedly giving them.
Correct.
And again, you've never filled out this information yourself, correct?
No, I have not.
You don't know who filled out the information on this document, correct?
I do not.
As an installer, would you be sent a copy of this document?
With Defender, usually the way it worked was in the morning, the manager would give out a photocopy or a printout of the work order, just like what you have.
Okay, it would be this exact document?
Correct.
And you would receive that from the manager or somebody else?
That's correct.
On this particular document, it's got the name. Let's zoom in a little bit for you here. I'll just read it. Do that. Margot Filippi, which is Phillippi. Are you familiar with that person?
No.
That would be that here. There's also an area below there where it says hero, and there's a name Christopher William Culbertson. Are you familiar with that box?
Familiar with the box, but not the person.
What does the box hero mean?
So your sales rep at the top will start there. That's usually the person who initially answers the phone. And then hero and superhero, that's referring to managers. And usually those are brought in if the person over the phone is being difficult in closing the sale. So they usually have more pull to give additional equipment or things of that nature in order to get the appointment scheduled.
Was that information you gave us, is that something you were trained on?
As far as performing that, no, but we knew the process of home office.
And then down here, the customer area that Mr. Beecham had asked you about, that's got the name Melody Martin, correct?
Yes.
And then it's got an address. And I'm guessing that when the sales rep is supposed to fill this out, they're supposed to do it correctly with all the correct information?
Correct.
Okay, so on this document, Melody Martin, and it's got a date of birth for her, which would be November 1, 1911, is that right? Or November 11, 1911. That would be the date of birth?
Yes.
Then on this document, it's got some prices listed as well, correct?
Yes.
And again, as the installer technician, this isn't anything that you would negotiate, correct?
Correct. The $99 is the standard install rate for ADT.
And there's nowhere on this document where it lists who the installer was, correct?
Not that I can see from my view.
Would there be a place that information would normally be contained?
Usually, yes, but it's been long enough that I don't remember where exactly.
Would it be on the same one-page document?
It should actually be right there under original tech.
Under original tech? So we point to that area for you. Speaking of right here?
Just below, correct. But it is possible that that wasn't filled in until the job was completed.
So the original tech, that would be the original technician.
Who did the original install, yes.
Okay. And so that would be where they would indicate who that technician was, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that is not indicated in our document, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Speeching?
Your Honor, I'd request that the jury be informed of SDT, what that means.
Well, we'll discuss that and handle that. We don't need to do that with this witness.
No further questions for this.
All right, is he excused?
Yes.
Excused.
Yes, thank you.
You're excused. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next witness?
Thank you. People call Greg Taylor.
I do. Thank you. Craig Taylor, C-R-A-I-G-T-A-Y-L-O-R.
Thank you. You may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mr. Taylor. And it's Mr. because I understand you recently retired, is that right?
That's correct.
Prior to your retirement, where did you work?
For the city of Corona.
Police department?
Yes.
Were you a sworn peace officer?
Yes, I was a detective.
For how long were you a sworn peace officer?
I started my career in LA County back in '88, went to Corona in '91, and retired in 2000.
And your title right before you retired was detective, is that correct?
That's correct.
You said you retired in 2000.
Yeah. September 18th of, 2020. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
A very short career.
Yeah. All right. So I understand that you played a role or two in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
One thing I want to ask you about is were you tasked to contact ADT?
Yes, I was.
And what is ADT?
It's an alarm company.
And why did you contact them?
To see if they had video or anything that might have occurred inside the residence.
Why did you think that it was a possibility that they may have video?
Because they were attempting to install a system in the house at that time.
Okay. And do you know who that was attempting to install the system?
Yes, I do.
I see that you're looking at some papers. Do you need your memory refreshed?
Yes, I do.
Okay, with His Honor's permission.
Yes, you may do so. What are you refreshing it with?
My
you have a
report that I
copy?
wrote, yes.
Okay.
The report that I'm looking at right now isn't the one that talks about the ADT.
Okay.
So I don't have that one in front of me.
All right, no worries.
Okay.
Was it Barry Swanson?
Yes, it is.
Does that sound familiar?
I remember Mr. Swanson, yes.
Okay. And you were tasked to determine if there was potential any video of the suspected crime. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's because you knew that there was some sort of surveillance system being installed on the 17th,
That's correct.
the day of the killings.
That's correct.
All right. And when you called ADT, did you talk to anybody?
Yes. If I can real quick, when I called to get copies of my report, since I don't work there anymore, they sent me the reports of the videos that I obtained, the supplemental that covered, not the supplemental I wrote, reference ADT. So I don't recall those details.
Okay, that's fine. We might not get too in depth, but if you do need the report, do you see a file in front of you that says Craig Taylor or Detective Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. And is that report in there?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And if you need a minute to refresh your recollection, and with His Honor's permission.
Yes, please do so.
Thank you. Okay, I read it.
Okay. And were you told regarding a certain time frame that Barry Swanson was speaking to ADT?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And approximately what time frame was that?
Between 16:11 and 16:15, which would be 4:11 in the evening to 4:15 in the evening.
Okay. And I believe you said that you also received a recording. Is that correct?
Yes, he emailed me the recording.
Okay. And the recording is the actual audio that took place during that time frame?
Correct.
Okay.
The phone conversation between ADT and Mr. Swanson. Yeah.
Okay. Were there any other documents that you received in relation to that you can recall?
No.
All right. All right. Now moving on. You're also tasked to look up surveillance throughout the city. Is that correct?
Correct.
And will you explain to the jury what you were looking for and what you were looking at?
I was asked to look through the city's surveillance cameras, intersection cameras, to see if I can locate Mr. Swanson's vehicle, which wasn't at the scene at the time of the investigation when we arrived.
Were you given either a photograph or some sort of description as to what to look for?
Yes, a white Ford Raptor.
All right. And showing you People's 164, is that consistent with the white Ford Raptor that you were looking for?
Yes, it is.
All right. And on what particular day were you looking at?
9/17/2015.
So you said that you were looking at city surveillance cameras. Is that right?
That's correct.
And where generally are these cameras located?
Our major intersections.
Throughout all of Corona?
We don't have all the intersections cambered, but yes, throughout all of Corona.
Okay. So pretty much all major intersections. Is that right?
That's correct.
So we're talking more than 15, 20 cameras. Is that right?
Correct.
Approximately how many cameras?
At that time, I don't recall how many they have. They've added more since then.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So are you just picking an intersection and looking throughout the entire day, or how are you going by trying to find this needle in the haystack?
I took the intersection closest to the residence and sat there and watched that one for many hours until I see if I can see the vehicle.
Were you given a time frame of when the suspected murders occurred?
That right around the time where the phone call was, we knew it was somewhere near there. So I would look a few hours before and and start watching from there.
Okay. So you call ADT and you get some information that the last known conversation that Barry Swanson had was up to 4:15 p.m. Is that correct? And then you know that Mr. Swanson's vehicle is now missing.
Correct.
So from 4:15 on, from the location at Winthrop, you're now looking for that vehicle.
Correct.
All right. So what is the nearest intersection that has a camera to Winthrop?
That'd be Lincoln and Ontario.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's 230. And do you see the map and the information on the left side of the exhibit?
Yes, I do.
The information on the left side has summary of camera times, and it has time in military hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you recognize those hours and the locations?
Yes.
And how do you recognize those?
Those would be the locations where I was able to see a white Ford Raptor on the video.
Okay. So let's start with the first one. 1644 hours, which is 4:44. Is that right?
Correct.
PM.
Correct.
Othello and Lincoln. Othello and Lincoln. Do you see a pointer up there, a laser pointer?
Yes.
Will you show the jury where Othello and Lincoln is?
Right there.
All right. It's also labeled number 1 on the map. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if I were to zoom in at number 1, will you show the jury where Lincoln is?
Lincoln is this street where it's north-south street.
Okay. And then where is, now where's the major cross-section?
Ontario right here.
But in your, for this, for 1644 or 4:44 p.m., it states Othello and Lincoln. Is that right?
Correct.
How close is that to Lincoln? I'm sorry, to Ontario.
Maybe 3 blocks.
Okay. Then the next time that you see the Raptor is at 4:54 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's labeled number 2.
Correct.
And what location is that?
6th and Lincoln.
So 6th Street is a major cross street in Corona,
Yes, east-west, yes.
and so is Lincoln as well.
Yes, north-south.
So, and we'll get which direction it was going in a minute, but for right now, our purpose is to label the times and locations you saw the Raptor. Now, I noticed the next line, it says 1703, which is 5:03 p.m.
Correct.
Also at Othello and Lincoln.
Correct.
So are we to take that to mean that the Raptor came back to that location?
It would appear that it did because it's coming from the same direction. It was going from east to west from the same location that I saw it the first time.
And so we're going in sequence as you saw the Raptor in these city cameras. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, the next one we have is at 5:04, 17:04 hours at Ontario and Buena Vista.
Correct.
And where is that located?
Right there.
So number 3.
Right. Buena Vista is this street right here.
Buena Vista runs north and south,
Correct.
and then Othello runs east-west.
Right. That location, though, Ontario and Buena Vista.
I'm sorry, Ontario and Buena Vista. Ontario runs east-west.
Correct.
At 17:07, which is also 5:07 p.m., where is the Raptor located?
At Ontario and Magnolia.
So that's number 4 depicted on the map.
Magnolia is this street right here.
So Magnolia is one of those streets in Southern California which kind of runs east-west at some points and north-south at others.
Correct.
All right. But at any rate, at this location, number 4, it's at Ontario and Magnolia.
Yes.
All right. So the next one that we have is at 5:11 p.m. or 17:11 hours. Is that right?
Yes,
And where's that now?
at Foothill and Fullerton.
Foothill and Fullerton. And that's depicted with number 5.
Yes, right here.
Are there any notable high schools near Fullerton and Foothill?
Santiago High School.
Is that depicted on this map?
Yes. Right here, which would be at Rimpaw and Foothill.
And also is marked Santiago High School on this exhibit. Is that correct?
Correct.
So now we're on to number 6, which is 6:16 p.m. Or 18:16 hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where is that location?
At Foothill and Highgrove.
In Foothill, another interesting street that kind of runs north-south, but mostly east-west in Corona?
That's correct.
All right. And will you show the jury where Foothill and Highgrove is?
Right here.
Again, on September 17, 2015, at 6:17 p.m. or 18:17 hours, did you see the Raptor?
Yes, at Foothill and Lincoln.
And that's marked with what?
Number 7.
Now we're moving on 1 minute later at 6:18 p.m. or 18:18 hours. Where's the Raptor?
At Lincoln and Highgrove.
And Lincoln and Highgrove is where?
Right here.
So now north of where it previously was.
Correct.
Moving on to also 18:18 hours, 6:18 p.m. at Lincoln and Ontario, number 9. Where's that?
Right there.
So what we have here, starting with 5, it appears as though the Raptor is going in a westerly northwest direction to 6, and then a southwest direction to 7, and then north up to 8 and 9.
That's correct.
It's amazing I got my compass directions right on that. All right, now moving on to the last one, back to number 2 at 6:21 p.m. or 18:21 hours. Where's the Raptor?
At 6 and Lincoln.
And that's also, again, depicted at number 2.
Right there.
So it looks like it was at 2 locations at 2 different times. Is that correct?
At position number 2, 2 different times?
Correct.
Yes.
And position number 1, 2 different times.
Correct.
Now showing you People's 231. You recognize the still photographs on the left side of this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
All right, I'm going to concentrate on the one on the bottom left here. I'll zoom in. And what is this still photograph of?
That is from the surveillance camera at Ontario and Lincoln, facing, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It's on the north side facing south, and a white Ford Raptor in the number 2 lane of northbound Lincoln.
All right. So the Ford Raptor is actually facing north, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now,
In this, you can see Othello, too. It's right up there. It's hard to see this one, but it's right there.
I'm sorry.
Othello is located right there.
Okay, so at the very top of this photograph on the bottom left of this exhibit is where Othello would be. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in your report, I believe you stated that it said 16, or you stated it was 16:54 hours, but on this photograph, we have 16:45 hours and 4 seconds. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Am I to take that to mean that you saw it 16:44, but at some point, time's still moving, and whenever this still photo was taken, it just happened to be at 16:45?
Correct.
All right. Now, as we see This is is it the Ford Raptor that I'm pointing at in this photograph?
That's correct.
All right. And that, for the record, it's the white truck on the left side of this photo, on the bottom left of the exhibit, and it has I'll just call it a blue square depicted around it from the city camera.
Correct.
What are these blue squares, by the way?
I believe it just indicates traffic, that there is a vehicle in the location. Some of these cameras are utilized to cycle the signals from green to red.
Okay. And so when we're at a stop sign or a stop light and annoyed that's not turning green, is that because either the sensor's broken or it's not equipped with the sensor?
Correct. Some have sensors in the roadway, and some utilize cameras. I don't know which ones in our city do those. So.
Okay. We'd all be asking you additional questions about this, I'm sure. So with regard to this particular camera, obviously it's equipped with the sensors on the camera.
It appears so, yes.
All right. Now, if we go back to the map here, will you show the jury where this time location is depicted on this map?
Where the camera is that I'm taking from?
Correct. So we know that from your testimony that the Raptor is facing north on Lincoln. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's right here at Lincoln, Ontario.
And for ease, I believe that there's a yellow dotted line that goes from the picture to the location with the red arrow. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now going back to the other photograph, which is just above the 4:55 p.m. one, which is 4:55. What are we looking at here?
Lincoln and 6th Street.
And which direction is the Raptor going?
It is going northbound.
Again, is that depicted on the map?
Yes, right here.
So there's two arrows. There's one southerly on the map, is that correct, pointing north? And then one north of that, also pointing north.
Correct.
So if I understand you correctly, the Raptor is first seen where this smaller arrow is, and then it goes northbound to the other arrow. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Moving on to People's 232. All right, now looking at this exhibit, we see three different still photos of city cameras. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
We'll start with the first one in time, which appears to be at the bottom left of this exhibit. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And where is the Raptor in this photograph? If you need me to zoom in, I can.
No, that camera is also located at Ontario and Lincoln. You might point out before, the Raptor is right up here on Othello, heading westbound to Lincoln.
All right, and will you show the jury where it's depicted on the map?
Right there.
So where there's an arrow, the only arrow on the map, that's pointing westbound, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's at 5:03 p.m.?
Yes, it is.
Now there's two at 5:04 p.m. I see one at 5:04:08, so let's go there next. Where is the Raptor at?
That is on Lincoln at Ontario.
Okay, and will you show the jury where that's at? Okay.
And it's
But for the record, that would be the second arrow now pointing eastbound? Or is it where there's a curve?
where it's a curve. The vehicle, this is northbound, stopped in the right turn lane, waiting to make a right turn onto eastbound Ontario.
I see. Okay. And now at 5:04:29, where is the Raptor located, both on the map and in the photograph?
Raptor is located right this here, and which is eastbound on Ontario from Lincoln.
So where you just pointed in the photograph is there's a red circle highlighting the raptor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you also pointed to the arrow now pointing eastbound on Ontario.
Correct.
Now going to People's 233. Looking at these photographs in this map, we'll start with the next in time, which is 5:05 p.m. Eastbound Ontario. Do you see that in the upper left?
Yes, I do.
And will you show the jury where the raptor is?
Right here, and at this location right here.
In the upper left of the exhibit, you pointed to the white truck. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you also depicted its direction with the farthest left arrow on the exhibit, on the map of the exhibit.
That's correct.
And the which direction is the eastbound? I'm sorry. Which direction is the raptor traveling at this point?
Eastbound on Ontario, going through Buena Vista.
All right. The next photograph on the bottom right of this exhibit, will you show the jury where the raptor is depicted?
Raptor is located right here, and the intersection is located right here.
You showed the jury, for the record, a white truck in the middle of the intersection. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then what direction was that raptor going?
Eastbound.
On
It's continuing eastbound on Ontario through Magnolia.
which is the second arrow to the right of the other arrow. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, and what time was that at?
5:07 p.m.
Again, this is all on September 17th, 2015. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, besides the citywide cameras, were you tasked to look at try to find any surveillance at businesses?
Yes, ARCO AM PM at Ontario and Compton.
I'll show you what's been marked as on People's 229. Does that look familiar?
Yes, it does.
What is that?
That's the white Ford Raptor in the gas station at ARCO gas station at Compton and Ontario.
On the bottom right of this exhibit, I see a date and a time. Do you see that?
Yes.
And first off, what is the date and time that you see on the exhibit?
9/17/2015 at 18:47:25.
Also known as 6:47 p.m.
Correct.
When you are looking at city cameras or business cameras, do you do anything to determine whether that date and time is the true date and time?
Before I extract video, I look at their live feed, and their live feed will indicate what the system date and time is. I will then confirm that usually with my cell phone and see if it's accurate.
And did you do that in this particular?
Yes, I did.
And was it accurate?
No, it was not.
How much time was it off?
It was 43 minutes fast.
So at 18:47, you're better at math than I am, I'm sure. What would the actual time be?
18:04.
18:04. And is that common to have surveillance video off by some time?
Yes. It's not too common for them to be accurate.
So since you stated that the actual time is 18:04, I'm going to write 18:04 on this exhibit. Also known as 6:04, is that correct?
PM. Yes.
All right, no. /6:04 p.m. As the actual time. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you actually collected the video from the ARCO station, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just one moment.
There's no sound, I assume, Mr. Beecham?
Correct. Your Honor, this would be People's 160. Before I play People's 160, does this video that I'm about to play, does that look familiar?
Yes.
And is this does this appear to be the video that you received from ARCO?
This appears to be the video that I extracted from their system.
I'm going to pause it right there for 1 second. Again, understanding that the time is off on this, you see where now the Raptor has left the ARCO station?
It has now backed out of that spot. It is still in the parking lot.
Okay.
Yes.
And what time is it at this point?
It says 1848, so the adjustment of 43 minutes would be 1805. Without using my fingers.
All right, I'll resume it. Pausing it there at this time, which is 1849, and is that 50 seconds? Or
It appears to be, yes.
do you see the Raptor?
Yes, I do.
And, where is it?
Right here.
So it appeared that it backed up and then now is moving forward through the station,
Correct.
past the pumps.
Correct.
And one thing I forgot to ask you is what time the Raptor arrived. And looking at this photograph as I play People's 160 again very shortly, do you see the time?
1846.33, which would be 1803.
I want to show you People's 228. And I forgot to ask you, we've been talking about Othello and Winthrop and where it is in relation to these major streets in Corona. Do you see this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Do you see this map?
Yes.
Does this map appear to be a fair and accurate representation of the map of these major streets and the streets that we've been talking about in Corona?
Yes.
Do you see the Winthrop Street there?
Yes, I do.
Will you show that to the jury? So Winthrop, it goes east-west, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then it intersects with another street, is that right?
Yes.
Which is?
Macbeth?
And we show where Macbeth is. And then as one leaves the subdivision, what's the next major street that Macbeth intersects with?
Othello.
And will you show the jury? So Othello and Lincoln is that intersection with the city camera that you testified to?
City camera is located here, and the visual have up to Othello.
And I apologize, my mistake. So you actually saw from the Ontario Lincoln surveillance video the truck coming from Othello,
Correct.
turning onto Lincoln,
Correct.
northbound.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. Thank you. Oh, I think I forgot. There's another video. All right, Mr. Taylor, sorry. I want to show you People's Exhibit 156A. You testified to this particular still photo, or a still photo of this particular camera. Is that right?
That's correct.
And will you show the jury where Lincoln is and where Ontario is?
This direction here is Ontario. This is Lincoln, and that's Othello.
Which direction is north?
That direction is south, coming this way is north.
So coming down, this exhibit is going north. Is that
Yes,
correct?
this white vehicle, this van are northbound.
All right. Where is Othello in this?
Right here at the top of the screen.
Do you see anything at Othello, as I posit at, according to the city camera, 1644?
See a white Ford Raptor.
At this point, I'll play it. Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Cross?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, is the witness excused or subject to recall?
Excuse is fine. That's fine.
You're excused. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next witness?
We have one more witness this afternoon, but we can take a break now, 10 minutes so we can organize what we need to do.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a little early recess. Remind all be not to discuss facts of this case amongst yourselves or with anyone unrelated to the trial. Not form or express any opinion until you've heard all the evidence. We'll come back at 10 to 3. 10 to 3.